Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Hustle and Flow. You are listening to or watching on YouTube episode 187, Spring Cleaning Your Business. Now, if you used to listen to the Hustle and Flow podcast back in the day, we did this. It was kind of like spring cleaning, but it happened every April, and it was the Get It Done Challenge. And I considered bringing that back, but thought, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's do spring cleaning your business. Now, this isn't technically a challenge with prizes and listening in every single day for a week like we used to do it, but you can still use it as a challenge in that if you want to take this episode and everything that I've got for you, you can break it down into once a day for a week, or you can knock it all out at once, really, however it serves you best. I think that sometimes, whether we're trying to get things done or we're trying to plan ahead, we can get really, really overwhelmed. And that was part of what the Get It Done Challenge was about. It was helping you break it down. And mostly it was a little bit, it wasn't a bait and switch, but the concept was so much of what's on your list, you can actually just delegate or let go. And that in and of itself can help you accomplish more on your list. And so this one is like true spring cleaning. And I don't know about you, but if you start to do spring cleaning, it can get really overwhelming really fast. So we're going to go over some things and take what you're like, that I could really do that, and leave the rest. Or come up with a plan to actually execute it. I think you'll really enjoy the benefits. But if you're like me, if I ever start like cleaning out, I don't know, any room, a closet, my bathroom, I get everything out. And there's some point along the way where I get so overwhelmed, so frustrated, I feel like I'm in it, up to my eyeballs. And then I hit this wall and I'm like, now what? Because it's got to get cleaned up and put back. And I just want to break. I want to lay down. So just keep in mind that as we spring clean our business, the same thing can happen. So doing it in little bitty baby steps is not a bad thing if you're like me and get started and then get overwhelmed with the process. All right. So there are really 4 areas to spring cleaning your business. And they're basically the same 4 areas, the same 4 steps that you would use if you were spring cleaning your home. I think. I don't know how you spring clean your home, but I would assume it's the same way. All right. Number 1 is you purge. You go through, whether it's your entire house, a closet, a single room, your clothes, you are purging. You look at everything you have and you're like, what needs to go? Like, what needs to be tossed out? I generally do that before I actually start doing the deep cleaning, because it's always a time to just look at things with a fresh perspective and say, what still serves me? What's time to go? And sometimes the what's time to go is just putting it in the basement or the attic. Sometimes we're not quite ready to let go of it, but we know that it doesn't belong at the moment. We're moving it out for this season, or we're just moving it out so that we don't have to look at it or deal with it anymore. Whatever it is you're doing, you're purging. That's step 1. Step 2 is the cleaning, right? Like, we really are doing the deep cleaning. If it's inside, it's just sometimes we don't ever get behind, certain things. There's crooks and crevices that we constantly ignore. This is where it's like you got to do the sweep for the cobwebs and just give things that normally never get cleaned. Maybe it's like under your couch or whatever else. Like at least once a year, you know that it's going to get touched. My very first house that I bought, we we went into it when we first got possession, and it took days. Basically, this house as well. It took that we just bought. It took days to actually get it clean because it was obvious that there had never been any maintenance cleaning, and so the top of cabinets and stuff just were really gross. So you got to do that deep cleaning. Number three is you then rearrange and organize. So once you kind of go out through everything, you toss it out and let's say it's a cabinet, right? You're cleaning it out really good and then you're putting it back in. Maybe you put it back in the exact same way. But a lot of times as we're putting it back in, we're like, is there a better way to put this in that is either better organized, or the things that I use the most, I'm going to put in the front, things that I don't use that much, I'm going to put in the back. I mean, these are easy concepts, right? So number one, we are purging, we're getting rid of things, we're moving things out of the way. 2, we are doing that deep clean. 3, we are rearranging, reorganizing. And then 4 is where we add a little pop of something. We add a little newness, a little freshness. Maybe it's what's on trend. Maybe it's seasonal. Maybe it's just a glow up. In this instance, we're talking about, like new pillows. Maybe it's a fresh coat of paint. We are not talking about completely redoing the room. We're not buying all new furniture. That would be a redesign, a remodel. We're not doing a renovation here. We are not doing an addition. You could, but that's not really spring cleaning. When you're doing the spring cleaning and you're freshening things up, you might add in some new pops, but you're not doing it all over, right? That's what spring cleaning your business is all about. So we're going to take each of those steps and we are going to break it down so that you know exactly what you can be doing in your business to make sure that it is bright and fresh and clean and ready to move forward for the year. Okay, you ready? Let's dig in. Number 1, purging, getting rid of things, putting it away. Now, you can also, like the basement and the attic, you can put it away out of sight. But I encourage you to actually toss it. Yeah. So sometimes maybe your closet isn't big enough to hold all of your clothes, and so you like to put away your winter clothes, bring out your spring clothes. But sometimes, a lot of times, we're really just like, I've not used that in years, or I don't need that, we'll put it away. Out of sight, out of mind. As someone who just moved out of a house, having lived there for over 15 years, the amount of stuff that you accumulate and put out of sight and out of mind is, oh boy, it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It is out of control. So to the extent that you can just let things go, I think that's better than putting it out of sight and out of mind, because you will have to deal with it again unless you just, let it die. Let your business die. Sell your business and you never have to deal with it. That is a theory. That is a way to deal with it, but, not the best solution. So I highly encourage you, as you're looking at what we're getting ready to go through, to truly let things go. Now, just like purging your closet, purging things in your home, it may get emotional. A lot of times we don't want to deal with the underlying issues related to the thing we're letting go of. It can bring back memories. We might get sentimental. We might think, but I don't quite want to let go of that, because it's like admitting a failure or something is gone. Okay? Same things are going to come up. Just because it's your business does not mean that those personal emotions and feelings aren't going to come up. So just know that. Okay, so how do we purge? How do we get rid of things? How do we put away things in our business? Well, you're really doing an inventory. Okay, and so here are just a few different ideas where you might want to do that inventory. One is your time. Where are you spending your time that maybe is no longer a good use? You know? So, one way to do an inventory is to truly just like track your time for a while to see how you're spending it. But you're going to know. You're going to know. Is there a board or an association or an organization that you are still involved in because you feel obligated or you're people pleasing, or again, there's just emotional ties there? It's like getting rid of those jeans. There can be so much packed in. It's like, because it's not about the jeans, right? So, is there something that's taking up a lot of your time, or maybe not even a lot of your time, but it just drains you energetically? Are there things where it's time to put them away? It's time to let them go. It might just be like you're spending a ton of time on something that's maybe like admin related. Or for me, if you listened to the episode with Kelly Ruda, we talked about how my need for control and my sense of insecurity could sometimes lead to micromanaging decisions and trying to get people to do things exactly the way that I would do them. And, that's not a good use of your time. So that could be one thing that like it might be time to let go of. You're going to know what your issues are, where your hangups are, where you were spending time and energy and resources that you're just spinning, you're swirling, you're not actually accomplishing anything. And yet it's like a bad habit, right? And you just got to let it go because it's not working, and it's not serving you, and it's not serving your business. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Another is expenses, finances. This is a great time of year to look at your subscriptions. Those monthly subscriptions really can add up, and some are like annual subscriptions. So, where do you have maybe subscriptions that you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm going to use it, but you've not used it yet? So just let it go. If you want to go back to it, you can get it again, right? But it's either like, okay, I'm gonna wear these jeans, or I'm gonna donate them. You know, don't pack them up and put them in the back of your closet, because in 5-10 years it's going to be outdated, just like this software is going to be outdated. Okay, so commit to saying I'm going to use it, or let it go. And again, it may be like, well, I spent multiple years or on this every single month, and so I want to get my value. I've already spent the money, so I got to get the value. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. That's about you beating yourself up and saying, I made a mistake and I have to pay for that mistake and I got to make it worth it. It's not actually worth it in the end, unless it's truly something you want to prioritize, in which case prioritize it, right? Otherwise, let it go. And there's a lot of expenses. It doesn't even have to be a subscription that you can look at in your spring cleaning to say, is this something that still benefits the business, that still serves the business? Maybe you've had a coach or a program for a long time and it's time to let it go, either because it's filled its purpose, it's given you what you need, but it no longer is giving you the same value. I think so many of us are relationship based that sometimes we have a hard time letting go of a particular coach or a vendor or someone who's been supporting you, because you feel like you're rejecting them or letting them down. And that's real. It's personal. And you've got to do what's best for you and your business, especially the business. You are not your business. You are not your business. I'm going to say that one more time. You are not your business. This is one of the things that's always been really hard for me. I often think I am my business, and I forget that I am the CEO of my business. And I have to make the best decisions for the business, not the best decisions for my feelings, right? So, are there expenses? Are there relationships that have run their course and are they're no longer serving you, or the ROI is not what it needs to be? Maybe there's something else that you could have. It may even cost you more money, but the ROI is going to be better, right? So you can look at that. Also, with relationships, I mean, that's not just vendors, that's clients. Are you serving clients that suck the life out of you, that suck the life out of your team, that you need to let go? And that may be a really difficult conversation to have, but it may be vital to your business. Because my guess is if you're already feeling that there's like a client that's problematic, you're probably not getting your ROI out of that. Even if they're paying their bills, right? Like the time and expense to deal with them and to deal with the drama that surrounds it, may not be worth it. Maybe it's an offer. Maybe it's a program. Maybe it's a service that is no longer paying off. Maybe it used to be a great offer, a great service, and you've been trying to revive it and it's just not. It may be time to let it go. Even if it's your baby, even if you love it so much. Again, remember that you are not your business. You are the CEO of your business. And so you have to do what's best for the business. This is a great time to look at all of your services, all of your offers, and the ROI on each. And then last, I have your collateral. So this could be marketing, this could be sales, this could be part of delivering on your offers and services. A lot of times things get, really old and outdated, and we say that they need to be updated, and maybe they do, but it could also be that they need to be thrown out. I'm thinking about, so when we did Simple Courage Bingo a few summers ago, I don't even remember what the bingo square was, but I did my very first Instagram reel by showing that I had some garlic salt, some spice that I think it expired. I swear it was like 15 years earlier. It was embarrassing. But, right, we all have this. We all have spices that it's like, I mean, it's not going to kill you, but is it fresh? Like, can you get a new jar of the garlic salt if you want the garlic salt? Now, let me just say, part of the problem is the garlic salt I like, they don't make it in like a bottle that's small. It's huge, and it's the only way you can buy it. But I don't like throwing things out. It seems wasteful. And yet, I threw it out. Sometimes you just got to throw it out, right? So maybe it's time to let it go and throw it out. Photos are a great example. Y'all, my photos, the headshots and everything that I have, they're from like early 2017. That was 7 years ago. We've had a pandemic. I have aged. I had a tumor. I don't know that, I know I'm never going to look like that again. And that is not what I look like now. And yet, I'm going to be honest here, I've paid for it. Like, I have booked a new photo session, paid for it. And I haven't had it done yet because I keep thinking, oh, I'll lose weight. Oh, I'm not ready yet. That is bullshit. It is all bullshit. Living in the past is what I'm doing, and it's got to go. It's got to go. I need new headshots. I loved the old ones. And some of you, some of you can relate to this, I see some of your headshots, and they're really old too. Right? And we looked good. Oh, God, we looked good. And we don't want to go get the new photos. And it's time. It's time. We got to let go, put away, get rid of things. That is step one. Also, I know that took the longest amount of time. Like we're already at almost 20 minutes and it's like, oh my Lord, like how are we going to get to the other things? Y'all, this is the hardest part. Letting go. There is so much emotion to letting go. And the other three are a bit of a breeze once you do that first step. There's a lot of emotions to unpack with letting go. A lot of times we don't actually want to look at things. It's easier just to keep working around it than to look at it and let it go. But this makes the biggest difference in the world. It really does. And it's going to give you that clean, fresh start you're looking for. So that's number one. Number two, now we're just going to deep clean. Deep clean. What needs to get cleaned up? Again, this could be your finances. It might be a mess. It might be your receivables or your invoices. I don't know. Might be a mess. What are your systems look like? Maybe it's your email. Maybe it is your intake system. Maybe it's your files. I don't know. Things probably need to be cleaned up. Your thoughts, your habits. I guarantee you you have some of those that need to be cleaned up. I definitely do. I'm in the process of deep cleaning some habits and thoughts that I picked up between the pandemic and being out and sick. And I know what they are. And I know they need to change. But I'm clinging to them. This is like the letting go because it just feels safe. And so we got to deep clean. We got to scrub that shit. It's not fun, but we're going to like the result. So let me just say on this, sometimes we can go into a rabbit hole when we are trying to clean things up, especially when it's like systems and finances and all of that. This is where, similar to Get It Done Challenge, for you as the CEO, it is not the best use of your time and energy to be doing the deep cleaning yourself. This is where you delegate and you hire help. If your finances are a mess, hire a bookkeeper, hire a CPA. If your systems are a mess, maybe you need to hire an assistant. Maybe you need to fire the assistant that's not doing a good job and hire another one that can do a better one. Hard stuff to deal with, right? Even the thoughts and habits, like maybe you need a therapist, maybe you need a mindset coach. The cleaning really is where you want to reach out for help. So you want to identify it and then go put your money to good use. Go put your time to good use. Don't be organizing and doing all the stuff yourself. Hire it out. And there can often be the thought of, oh, well, I need to organize it first, and then someone can come in and help. Okay, if that was the case, it would already be done. And my guess is if you don't have it organized well, you're not actually the expert on organizing. Yeah, you're the expert on something else. You're just trying to still be in control, and you don't want someone else coming in and messing up the system that makes sense in your mind. I know this because I am you. Okay, I'm not judging. All right, so that's number 2 is the deep cleaning. Number 3, this is where we get to start to have some fun. We get to rearrange, we get to reorganize, and make things a little simpler, make things easier on ourselves. So is there a better way to go about it? Either because it makes more sense or it just brings you more joy. So you've got some freedom to, maybe it's create your day in a new way. Maybe it's creating your week in a new way. Maybe it's once you've let go of some difficult relationships and identified you've got like an intake system that's not real great. You can say, let's redo this. Let's reorganize this. Maybe a better way moving forward is having a new system related to how you identify potential clients. I'm making stuff up here, right? But the point is, when you're rearranging and reorganizing, that's not letting go, and it's not really adding something new. You're simply taking what you have, because you already have a lot of wonderful things, and saying, how do we do this better? Maybe it's a 4-day work week as opposed to a 5-day work week. Maybe it's rearranging your team or how someone does something. It's just moving forward. Is there a better way to do it? finances might actually be a great example on this since we already used it before. Okay, so we know that, maybe we got to purge. Maybe we've got finances and documents from 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's like, we don't need these anymore, right? Like we're looking at the IRS. We're looking at like, when would you need it? You don't need it. You don't need it. So you can let it go. And then like we're doing our deep cleaning. And then we're like, okay, so this is actually a mess because we're doing it ourselves. And we actually need a bookkeeper to help keep it clean. As we're rearranging and reorganizing, the bookkeeper might have tips for you on the rearranging or reorganizing, or maybe you do, right? So maybe you're throwing everything in a box and then at the end of the year trying to make sense of it. Okay, well, you've purged and you've deep cleaned, but how are you going to avoid having to have that mess again, right? This is where we're really saying, can we avoid getting in the situation we were in before? And maybe there is an easy solution or two that you want to try. Maybe it's we're going to enter things daily, or we're going to enter things weekly. We're going to enter things, monthly. We're going to scan. Again, all kinds of things. And I highly encourage you to bring in the experts on this step as well, and bring in your team. If we're talking about finances, if we're talking about systems, if that's not your expertise and you're not necessarily the one who is executing on it, get involved, bring in others, and get their feedback as well. Come up with a new system. And then fourth, this is the most fun. This is where you get to update and add new things. Again, we are adding new pillows. We are adding new paint. We are not adding on an addition, right? So when you're doing your annual planning really is about thinking about these new things. What are the goals? How are we reaching them? How are we adding on new people? How are we adding on new services? How are we going to get there? What's the strategy? That is your annual planning. Spring cleaning your business is not annual planning. It's just freshening things up. It's brightening things up. So again, we're not tackling something big. We're tackling something small, but can make a huge difference. So when you're updating or adding things that are new, it might be, oh, well, what if we want to do fun Fridays? Or what if we want to find a new way to engage with our clients? So it's still part of like the strategic plan, but it just feels fresh and exciting. Maybe it is a new service. Maybe it's your website. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it is a new hire. But again, don't get overwhelmed with like we're trying to like fix a huge issue. We're trying to redo. If you already did your annual planning, you should know what's aligned with that. Now, if you didn't do the annual planning, this may be a time when you start thinking, I need an addition, I need a renovation. That's fine. Like you can put it on the list, but that's a much bigger thing than just spring cleaning your business. So, what does that pillow, what does that paint look like? Maybe it's just a small update to your website. It can be as simple as like new photos, new headshots. Just looking at your website. Maybe it's been a while since you've even looked at it. It might just be adding in some new words. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm going to try this new font. Depending on how your website is set up, you might just be able to do like one thing that fixes it on everything. It's like, oh, let's just try this. It's new. Especially with like trends and design aesthetics, like you might not want to invest a lot permanently, but you might want to try something just for a little bit. Maybe it's related to your social. You're like, oh, let's do some reels. Maybe it's just updating your bio with a new emoji. I don't know. I'm just saying spring cleaning is where you can look at what you've got and say, what might punch it up a little bit? What might make it a little bit lighter, brighter, fresher for the spring? That's all it is. Now, as you're thinking through all of this and you're like, oh my God, that is so much stuff. You're right. It is. And you don't have to spring clean your business if you don't want to. But I will say, the more that you stay on top of things like your house maintenance, right? It's going to stay nicer. It's going to hold its value better. And it's cheaper and less stressful in the long run to stay on top of things. So use this as an opportunity. Again, you may say, all right, 1 week or one day, I'm just going to do this inventory. I'm going to look at what needs to be purged, what needs to be put away. And if you're like, I can't do all of these categories, great. I guarantee you there's some things that come just like straight top of mind. You're like, yep, probably could let that go. And then deal with the drama in your head that comes up with that. The deep cleaning, you probably know, top of head. Like, here's some areas where I could actually use some expert help, or I could be delegating this. It really needs to get cleaned up. It's a mess. And the mess is causing problems. My email is a mess. It does not cause problems. Therefore, I'm not cleaning it up, right? You're going to know what needs to be cleaned up. And then on the rearranging and reorganizing, this could be a team meeting. Maybe you've not had a team retreat in a while. This is something that doesn't actually have to take that long. You can schedule lunch. You could have one-on-ones and simply ask, is there anything that you feel like is a mess that could be rearranged? You might be surprised by the ideas that you get. And then what do you want to do that's new? Again, pick one thing. You don't have to redo the whole house. Just change out some pillows. It will make you feel good. It will make you feel like you made a little bit of progress. Nothing permanent, but it will spring clean your business. All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after-show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.